Now, my name is Philip Kisia. I am the last town clerk and CEO of City Nairobi. I am currently a business consultant and also a specialist in leadership and governance. And I'm joined by my Gen Z son here, Ethan Philip Lungaho Kisia, who is a student. So Cyrus Jirongo and myself come a long way. Therefore, it is actually almost impossible. I'm still in shock. I can't believe it that Cyrus is no more, because I spoke to him on Friday at 9:07 p.m. on Friday.
What was the conversation like?
Well, we were to have a drink, Cyrus Jirongo, George Munyasia Haniri. We were to have a drink in Karen that Friday, but we both took a rain check. We had planned to have lunch here in my home on Saturday. That was yesterday. We were to have lunch at 1 o'clock. That lunch never happened. So we are saddened to have lost Cyrus, a close friend, a dear friend, a member of this family. We still are in shock. And therefore, at this point in time, I just want to pass my condolences to Anne, Christine, and Kanini, the three wives of my brother Cyrus Jirongo, all his children and siblings, and the people of Luya land, Kenya, but in particular, the people of Tiriki. Because Cyrus' family has roots in Tiriki. So, it's a great loss to the people of Tiriki. It's a great loss to the people of Kenya. We are all feeling it.
Okay. You had a conversation with him at 9 p.m. Of course, the issues around you having a tete in the next day. Did he ever mention to you that he's leaving Nairobi, or you had agreed that he will be in Nairobi until Saturday?
I mean, that still is a mystery, Herman. It's a mystery because he never mentioned to me that he was going to leave Nairobi. And as I said, I spoke to him at 9:07. George, my brother George Henry, tells me he spoke to him just after 11. He never mentioned to George that he had any intentions of going to Naivasha. So that still remains a mystery. But we don't want to read too much into what happened between the time I spoke to him and the time George spoke to him, and from around 11:30 to about 3 in the morning. I think those are the gaps that need to be filled, but I'd rather that is dealt with by those who are investigating, and we are confident that the truth will come out. Because, Cyrus was a very reasonable person, and I cannot imagine that he would have decided to drive out of town at that hour of the morning. But let's not get into detail. I would rather that we eulogize my friend for now and leave the investigative agents to do their job. We have confidence that the truth shall finally come out.
For the interactions you've had with Jirongo, of course, it sounds like you guys have been buddies for some quite time. At scenarios when he gives you an appointment, like we are going to meet tomorrow, whether it's official or a friendly appointment, was he turning up, or he would change and he tells you we're meeting in Nairobi and tomorrow you hear he's in Kakamega?
Well, Cyrus, for information, Cyrus was a very organized person. And Cyrus would actually surprise me.
Okay.
You would agree with Cyrus on having an appointment, even when you're very busy, late at night. You'd agree that we're meeting at this particular place, at this particular time. And Cyrus will be the first one to call you, probably an hour before the meeting, and tell you that I just called to remind you that we have a scheduled appointment. So he's not the type of guy who would schedule an appointment and fail to turn up. And if he was running late, Cyrus will call and tell you, I'm running late. If there's something else that was urgent and pressing, Cyrus would call you and tell you, please, my brother, would you please excuse me? Can we reschedule?
Okay.
So that was Cyrus.
Okay. I want to finish up with you. Tell me about this unique moment you remember about Cyrus from the time you've lived with him. What is this moment or this interaction you will never forget that was very unique to you?
I think there are many things that I would talk about Cyrus. I've seen a lot flying all over social media. But even before I talk about the unique moment, because there are many unique moments, I would want to say that Cyrus has just not been a member of parliament. He's been a cabinet minister. He is an astute business person, regionally, locally, and internationally. In fact, by the time of this demise, Cyrus had put together an international company that was, going into oil and other minerals. And that was supposed to have kicked off very soon. Cyrus is one of the first people, actually, who went into carbon credit, and that is ongoing. So there was a lot that Cyrus was handling from the business level. But forget about just a business. Cyrus was a family man. Cyrus is somebody who loved his family. Cyrus loved his children, And if there's anything that you would have done that would have put you into collision with Cyrus, is if you interfered with his children. He loved his kids. He loved his family. Cyrus loved his friends. Cyrus was a true friend. He would reach out to you, either in good times or bad times. Cyrus was one person who would, deny himself, deny his family, and reach out to assist friends. And I know of so many people who have been assisted by Cyrus Jirongo. He's a man who had a big heart, kind heart. And sometimes I'd ask him, Cyrus, why would you sometimes give out almost everything you have and remain with nothing? And he would tell me, Philip, do you know why God gave these hands? And they're open, they're not clinched together, they're open when you're born. You're supposed to receive and give. That way, blessings will continue coming. So there's something I learned from Cyrus. That's what I learned from Cyrus. So it's a pity that Cyrus, who has assisted so many people, who has assisted so many families, he actually has left us before we gave him his flowers. I think for me it's a sad moment because after all that Cyrus has done for family, friends, extended, he's going before receiving flowers from us. The flowers that we shall be giving Cyrus, we are giving Cyrus flowers in his death, which is most unfortunate. But so when you look at Cyrus, you must look at Cyrus, first of all, from the human person. That man with a great heart, that kind fellow. Cyrus would argue with him now, have a serious argument, disagreement. 2 minutes later, he has completely forgotten, and you're laughing and having and isn't wondering, are you sure I say that? So he said, no, let's move on. It's gone, it's finished. So Cyrus never kept a grudge. So I'd want us to look at Cyrus from that human person, the man who would tell jokes, the man who had a smile all the time, even when he was going through very challenging times. Cyrus never lost, he hardly lost his cool. Of course, once in a while he'd lose his cool, but he never did it. But let me say something that we had planned to do with Cyrus. Other than that lunch that we had scheduled to have yesterday at 1 o'clock, we were meant to discuss the unity of our people and to chart a way forward for the community. And we were to start with the sub-tribe and then build in other sub-tribes of the Luya so that we become one unit and we go and negotiate on the table as a community. So that was the purpose for the meeting that we were to have yesterday. We had also planned, you know, we are Tirikis, and we had planned with Cyrus to go, since you are Tiriki Herman, you know what we call Hwaloha. We were going to Lumakanda on 21st, 22nd to get the kids out of the college, for the purpose of people who are not Tirikis, college, but Irumbi, Romo Rumbi, on 22nd. And then we were supposed to have gone to Kakamega because the others who we've circumcised in Kakamega and then end up in Tiriki.
Oh, okay.
So we had planned so many things with my brother Cyrus, but I must end by saying, other than that human person that Cyrus was,
Yes.
the man was smart, he was intelligent, he was a go-getter, an astute business person, overly generous, you know, a serious mobilizer, and a threat to many. Because, you know, when you're a politician and you can mobilize, and you're a powerful speaker, you can deliver, you know, you make friends, but at the same time, you make a number of enemies. But that was Cyrus, a great thinker.
Okay.
Let me talk about the moment that I can remember. Cyrus. There was a time in 2013, we were at Lillian Towers. We were sat in a meeting that was chaired by S.K. Macharia. In attendance was the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga, His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula, Jirongo, Gumo, Evans Kidero, and myself. We actually were planning politics for Nairobi. That was in 2013. And we sat down. And we had certain agreements. And we said, okay, let us map out Nairobi. And to cut the long story short, it was agreed in that meeting that Evans Kidero would have a first go to the governorship, and I was going to be his running mate. And, you know, I could, from the meetings, I could tell that something was amiss. Because as we talked and had discussions as men in a room, I could see betrayal. But no, Cyrus is not that type of person. Cyrus believed that what you said is what will happen. So we shook hands as gentlemen, not knowing that we are dealing with people who are dishonest. But Cyrus still believed. Because when I told Cyrus in vernacular, I told Cyrus, I think we're being done here. And he told me in vernacular, he told me, I mean, I cannot express it in English, but he said, you're a very stupid man.
I would want to hear that in vernacular.
This is not a corporate meeting. This is a political meeting. And where we are seated is a Pentagon. And from here, this Pentagon meeting, the only appeal you can make is to God.
Okay.
So what we have discussed here as men stand. Little did he know that we were dealing with a few of those people who were not very straightforward. Whatever agreements we had that Kidero would be the candidate and I was going to be the running mate was overturned in some other meeting. Of course, Cyrus was disappointed. He couldn't believe it. Yeah, but you see, what I'm trying to prove to you, that he was a man of his word. If Cyrus said, we meet, you'll meet. If Cyrus said, I'll do this for you, he meant it. Okay. He was not a fake fellow. So, once again, condolences to my friend, my family's friend. We shall stand with them. And I urge Kenyans to allow the family to mourn in peace. Cyrus was a very peaceful person. Let us give him that respect, okay? And bury him in a manner that befits a statesman. Cyrus was a statesman who cut across all tribes, all generations. And that's why I've come with my son, and I want him to say one or two things about
Yeah.
friend, Uncle Cyrus.
Definitely. I would want you, first of all, introduce yourself and tell us in a nutshell your interaction with the late Cyrus Jirongo.
My name is Ethan Kisia. I'm son to Philip Kisia. Uh, Cyrus Jirongo was like an uncle to me. I always used to call him Uncle CJ. So, sometimes I'd go to his office, I was telling my dad, see, the 500 note was named after him. So I told him, CJ, so give me 10 Jirongos. I used to tell him that. He said one time when things are sweet, Cyrus Jirongo was a giver, not a taker. He was a giver physically and emotionally. He was loved by many. He had many children. He told me that he had big eyes, but he told me, you, Tulia, 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 you have to have small eyes, us Western people. CJ, I had a call with him last week, I believe so. He was telling me that he had plans to unite the Western community for the better sake of the Western community and the people of Kenya. Yeah, in a nutshell, Cyrus Jirongo was a giver, not a taker. He was loved by many. He was a good friend. He was a good father. And yeah, he was a seasoned politician.
What was his take about youth leadership? You being a young person interacting with him, what was his take about interaction with the young people?
He said, Cyrus Jirongo said, for the better sake of our leadership in the future, we must hand over to the youth. That's what CJ told me. And my grandpa, my mother's dad, was CJ's mentor. So we had a close bond with CJ and the family. So my dad was a very good friend, and my grandpa was CJ's mentor and business partners. Yeah.
So what is
And
his
who is
take
your grandpa?
Who was your grandpa in the first place?
Yeah, my grandpa is Elijah Mwangale. He was a politician. He was a cabinet secretary. And yeah, he was a seasoned politician.
Actually, Mangale is the guy who introduced Jirongo to politics and become his mentor, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, who is your mentor in politics?
Who's my mentor? I'd like to say my dad. So I'm going to take over in the future. Ask Gen Zs.
Okay. What is your message to the youth from what you learned from Jirongo, what you can share to the youth of this nation?
To the youth, CJ would always stand up for the better. He didn't let anyone silence them. And I told CJ, Gen Zs, 2027 ni moja pamoja. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the message I'd like to send.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having us.